Greetings. Hello, everyone. Today, the moon continues in peacemaking Libra. And of course, there are some complications going on with some outer planets and some squares being formed. It's kind of a lot, and I haven't really been diving into the technical details of some of the squares that have been going on and are coming into exactness right now. But with these planets shifting signs, going into Aries, going into Aquarius, Gemini, Cancer, and then planets are squaring each other and creating some challenges, but also some invitations to grow. So let's see what comes through today. I'm Marina Orms here with your Astro Vibe for Friday, June 6th. And so we have some things going on, and I'm going to try to do a good balance here between not giving you too much technical detail, but giving you enough to kind of get a sense of what we're talking about, and then also giving you, of course, the meaning and how to think about the current situations and energies, the energies that are unfolding. So, first of all, today the moon is in Libra, and yesterday and the day before I talked about the Libra moon because it's been in Libra for a couple of days now. And we've got the Libra energy of balance, of trying to reestablish balance. So remember that Libra is about the dynamic experience of balance. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we are in the best state of balance. It means that we are working to create balance. So think of it as like compromise is a kind of balance. And when we compromise ourselves to the point where we stop getting our needs met, we can end up in something like a doormat syndrome where people are walking all over us, or where we are not standing up for ourselves, or where we step into that people pleasing role where we want people to be happy and we are willing to make compromises and compromise our own needs to maintain what feels like a peace, right? But when we are becoming a people pleaser or stepping into that doormat syndrome, it's not really the most balanced balance, right? So we're seeking better balance. And as we work toward better balance with the Libra moon, and then over the weekend and later tonight, the moon goes from Libra into Scorpio, and I'll get you that time. So 7:22 p.m. Pacific time is when the moon goes from Libra to Scorpio on Friday, June 6th. And that shift of the moon into Scorpio takes us deeper into some deeper truths. So Libra is about, then the Libra moon is about working toward that greater sense of balance. But then Scorpio really reveals, okay, here's what's really going on. Here's some of the real work that needs to be done, some of those deeper truths, some of the honesty that ideally needs to be revealed or confronted for that deeper truth to be made aware, to become aware of that deeper truth so that we can work on a more honest level. That's true with ourselves. It's true in our relationships. It's true in maybe your patterns of living or how you walk in the world. So becoming aware at those deeper levels helps us be more authentic and ultimately more powerful, because when we're being in our truth, we have more capacity to stand in our power. So that's the moon. All right, so just getting a sense of the vibe of the day, right? We've had the moon in peacemaking Libra that is trying to seek balance since, let's see, since Wednesday. at 6:38 a.m. Pacific. So basically, depending on your time zone, of course, but we've had a Libra moon for the daytime hours for 3 days in a row, at least for my time zone. So, okay, so Libra, peacemaking, seeking balance. What really needs to happen? What needs to shift, to change, to reach a deeper, more stable kind of balance? And then with the moon going into Scorpio, here's the deeper truth of what we're actually dealing with and what it's going to take and how to confront where we need to be more honest with ourselves about what needs to happen in order to, in relationships, create stronger bonds, greater sense of intimacy, of trust, right? Whether it's a romantic relationship or otherwise, we're building trust, right, with Scorpio. So we need, it's like going to that next level of being honest, being real, being authentic that helps you build trust in any relationship. So that's happening with the moon and the vibe. And then all these other things are going on. So we've had Saturn and Neptune go into Aries. I've been talking about that and new beginnings and Aries being proactive, a little bit unrestrained, right? Boldness and on the more negative side of Aries energy, we can experience aggression or um, a competitive mentality. And then on the positive side, it can also bring up themes of courage and where we need to take action and go for what we want, go for what is important to us and move on it. Take action, even if we haven't fully thought it through, take some risks. So, so that's happening. And then also we've got Mercury and Jupiter, as I mentioned yesterday, will be, so Venus is going into Taurus or went into Taurus technically Thursday night and is now in Taurus for Friday, June 6th. And we also have Mercury and Jupiter changing signs from Gemini to go into Cancer. You may notice or may not notice that that is in an exact square to Neptune and Saturn in early Aries. So as both Mercury, which moves quickly, and also Jupiter, which moves more slowly, go into the 0 degrees of Cancer. And I shared some times yesterday on that, but Mercury on Sunday, June 8th, and then Jupiter on Monday, June 9th, going into Cancer, forming that exact square with Saturn and Neptune. So big picture, that's a Saturn or a Jupiter-Saturn square, which happens every 5 years. The two of them form either a conjunction, a square, an opposition. So 5 years ago we had the conjunction of the two, and those points, by the way, the conjunction, the square, the opposition, are equivalent to a new moon, a first quarter moon, a full moon. So there's significant moments in the cycle between those two planets that have to do with the relationship between structure and foundations, which is Saturn. So systems, structures, how we organize, how we're governed, what rules we follow, and Jupiter, which is about our beliefs and what we believe. So there can be, and also themes of faith, optimism, abundance, all those good Jupiter things. So when there's a square, the experience of our beliefs having to adapt or shift to what is changing, what is emerging that we haven't fully adjusted to yet. So there's a shift in consciousness that needs to happen with that first square, that waxing square. So that's where we're at with the Jupiter-Saturn. And now we just happen to have Neptune, aligning with Saturn. So bringing Neptune into the mix, and Mercury aligning with Jupiter. So bringing Mercury into the mix as well. Again, Mercury moves more quickly, but Neptune is slow. So some of these energies are just activated temporarily, and more of these energies, some bigger parts of these energies are much more slow, or sorry about my language, are much slower to evolve. Okay. But at the core, we kind of have that Jupiter Saturn square that we've been, feeling in and out of for the last year or so. And now, as both shift into, well, Aries and Cancer, so early cardinal signs, very initiating. So trying to drive or steer something in a new direction, trying to take control, themes of who is steering, who has the wheel, who's in control, right? And we could see maybe if you've been following the news, some of those themes playing out, but also these are energies that are affecting all of us. So it could play out in your personal life, in your work life, and so thinking about where these themes might show up. So that's that square. And then we also have Mars in Leo. Remember Mars in Leo? I don't know if you remember from way back, and Mars going into Leo as it formed a square with Pluto. So Mars is still in Leo. Leo is the sign of royalty, status, privilege, performance. It's the sign of, sort of who gets to be in the role of being in charge. So themes here having to do with who is the king, who is in charge, those kinds of themes, and the drama around that, and uh, sort of the posturing that you might expect to see with Leo, the puffing up and the egos and that type of thing. So Mars action will drive forward movement in that sign of drama and performance and expression and needing praise and those kinds of things. And then Mars is moving into a square with Uranus, the planet of shakeup, of change. Uranus will be going into Gemini in July. So for now, it's in late Taurus, which is why Mars is squaring, or about to square exactly, Uranus. So that unpredictable energy of shakeup, of change, with that Mars willfulness and action and drive to try to be, the biggest, the best, the whatever, like to puff one's ego up to be seen in the best light possible. So what is a positive way to work with this energy? How can we think about it in terms of self-care? Mars, again, can be on the positive side, can be courageous, it can be bold, it can be self-expression, art, being seen for your expression, your creative expression, being creative, putting your creative work out there, taking action, taking risks, again, coming back to that Aries energy. And so thinking about creative work and how to be seen in your creative endeavors, projects, things that are near and dear to your heart. So Mars activating Uranus, the planet of shakeup, of change, of unexpected developments, in Taurus, the sign of normalcy and routine. So I've mentioned this before, but that planet of shakeup to our routine, unexpected developments, things shifting and changing on the day-to-day level in how we find comfort, what we experience as predictable, shaking up and changing as things develop and shift and emerge into the light of day that perhaps we could not see before through a square or a challenging aspect, which is just a challenging relationship between that Mars energy of action and will in that, you know, the ego sign of Leo, right? Leo is ruled by the sun. It is about shining your light. It is about being seen and loved and appreciated and have praise showered on you. So it is about the ego. And the ego can be a negative thing, certainly, if we use ego to try and puff ourselves up and put others down. Ego can also be a very positive thing if we think about ego as our way of being seen in the world. And so when our ego is something that we use to be authentic, to express ourselves creatively, to share, to offer, to shine our light, tell our story, have our voice be seen, it can be ego can be a very positive thing. So it's all in how we work with these energies, right? So maybe you are noticing in your life anybody who is kind of getting out of control with some ego stuff, or being a little bit bold or assertive in their need to be seen or have attention, and how to reframe that as a positive spin on these energies, and how to think of it as an opportunity for yourself to step into being seen for who you really are. And more vulnerability comes with that if we're really being honest about who we are, right? That can be vulnerable, and that vulnerability of self-expression, of being honest about who we are, can also be very powerful. And ultimately, as we work with these energies that, again, like I said at the beginning, there's a lot going on. It's sort of hard to pin down the individuals and the specifics of what you might notice, or what these how they can manifest and show up. But just to give you kind of a taste and an idea about some of what is unfolding just in what we call the mundane, or the collective. I like to call it the collective because it's our collective experience, having nothing to do with anyone or their own specific natal chart. This is just the collective energy that we have available to us, and how we choose to work with that or use it or think about it is really up to us. So, hopefully, you get some helpful nuggets in what I'm sharing today, and we'll see what else comes of it as we go through the days. And I am here every day with Astrology for Unshakable Self-Care. We will follow the Scorpio Moon over the weekend and think about how that casts maybe a different feeling on some of these energies. I will be back as I am every day with astrology here for Unshakable Self-Care. My website is astrologyheals.com. Thank you so much for being here and for subscribing. I so appreciate you. I will see you next time. Bye for now.